The atmosphere on the American campus continues to display its deep intolerance. I want to continue a story I've talked about earlier, the aftermath of the protest at Stanford. This was the protest that shut down a judge from speaking, Judge Duncan, Kyle Duncan of the Fifth Circuit. And in that case, the dean of diversity or the vice president of diversity was egging on the protesters and was lecturing the judge about how he shouldn't be, his opinions are not that important compared to dividing the community, as she put it. And so this kind of stuff has now become depressingly normalized. And there's an aftermath of that I will get to. But I also want to pivot to a new incident, which is Charlie Kirk was speaking at UC Davis, and a whole bunch of activists, apparently trans activists, showed up. And there are videos now on social media. They're screaming. Antifa shows up. They were trying to apparently barge their way into the event. And the sad thing is all of this was incited, and I use that word carefully, in fact, keeping in mind the way it is misused in connection with January 6th, but incited by the president of the university. I don't know the guy's name. This black guy, I see him on social media, and he's like, Charlie Kirk is a divisive figure. Charlie Kirk is coming here to say loathsome things. We're going to be monitoring what he says to see if there are some criminal violations. So this is the president of the university giving the idea that a criminal is coming, or a potential criminal is coming to campus, someone who might need to be prosecuted. And then sure enough, the activist students go, we got to stop this guy from. So this is a guy, I think, who is proving to be a very dangerous figure in blocking free speech, blocking a mainstream conservative from coming to campus and talking. And somehow you now have this idea that because students need to have a safe space, if somebody challenges their ideas, you are a threat to the university environment. Apparently, the university environment has now got to be recrafted in a way that no one's ideas are fundamentally questioned, at least not the ideas that are coming from the left. We'll see how that all plays out. But coming back to Stanford, this judge, by the way, what is his real offense? His real offense, supposedly, this kind of makes me chuckle, is that he misgendered a litigant who identifies as a woman. Now let's look at who this litigant is. The litigant was apparently twice convicted for receiving child pornography. So we're dealing basically with a kind of at least aspiring pedophile. And evidently, the judge misgendered the pedophile. And so the Stanford students who are yelling and screaming and want to shut the judge from speaking are rallying to the defense of a pedophile. That's really that's the situation, I think, as objectively as I can put it. Stanford apologized. The president of the university and the law school dean, a woman named Jenny Martinez, signed a letter saying this should not have happened. We are committed to free speech. And guess what? Jenny Martinez goes back to her constitutional law class, which she teaches at Stanford, and she discovers that the whole whiteboard is covered with posters and basically attacking her. Basically taking the side of the dean of diversity and saying that Stanford was wrong to apologize and that they have every right to shut down a judge who, as they see it, is coming there to peddle his intolerance. So in other words, the Stanford activists think intolerance is good because it's blocking the judge's intolerance. And the judge was basically going to read. He even had a prepared speech, and he's a mild-mannered fellow because if you watch the video, he's like, Can you reach out for an administrator to come and help adjudicate the situation? So he couldn't be more, polite and easygoing. But no, it's the radicals are the ones who inflict violence, and then they accuse the speaker of violence, rhetorical violence. But which is worse, rhetorical violence or real violence? So real violence is being deployed by the left, supposedly to block this rhetorical violence. The protest in Dean Martinez's constitutional law class apparently was almost a third of the whole law school. So think of it. They've got that many activists. Now, when I was in college, there were activists and you could round them up and they looked like a pretty large number. But then compared to the full size of the school, they were a tiny faction. But apparently here in the law school, they riled up enough people, or they corralled enough people. The students, by the way, who didn't participate, there are a couple of them quoted in an article that I read in Free Beacon. And they say, this was the true intolerance, because they keep talking about people. We don't want the judge to speak because we need to have an inclusive environment. They go, there's nothing inclusive about this environment. In fact, we are in this class intimidated, and we are glared at by the protesters for not joining. They're like, what's wrong with you? Why won't you? Why are you here only to study? Why are you here only to learn the law? Aren't there other better things to go to college for? Isn't that why you're really in law school, to learn to become a professional agitator? Don't you know our real techniques? We basically cause trouble and we sue the city. We find friendly Democrats running the city. They agree to pay us a settlement. That's really how we make money in modern day America. This is the new leftist modus operandi. Get with the program, guys. Why are you studying the Constitution and contracts? So this is really what our universities have come to. And at some level, I think I have to say objectively that there's really no saving them. We need at this point a new model altogether.